From inside the Midwest Volleyball Warehouse, it's the Minnesota Molten Series. We're into the semifinals, and it's time for the second match of the semis. Minnesota Select 18-1 versus Northern Lights 18-1. A lot of experience on the court. I'm John Haddon, along with Carl Katzenberger and our entire CCX Media crew. Teams on the court, everyone's wearing black. So we talked about this during our first matchup in the semifinals. You've got to look to the libero more than anything to figure out which team is which. On the near side, you'll have Northern Lights, and on the far side, you'll have Minnesota Select in this first set.
Let's talk about the coaches for both teams a little bit. We'll talk about the players a ton. Kayla Cole on the far side, former head volleyball coach at Totino Grace. She's helped by Leah, and I can't remember Leah's married name, but her maiden name was Newbeck, and she was a Hopkins high school volleyball standout many years ago.
She goes by Elsham these days.
And then on the near side here, Damian Fox, he coached at Lakeville North and is helping Jackie out there for a long time. And Steph Kazmarek, I think that's the way you pronounce it. I know her as Steph Mason. She's a Minnetonka grad, actually, and so they're both really smart, bright coaches on both staffs, and looking forward to a good match here.
That match starts with a point for Northern Lights, which has been a trend in our semifinals. Northern Lights, who won the opening semifinal 2-1 with their 17-1s, took the first point in each of the first three sets. The senior class does the same here. Now the serve over, sent back with authority, but it is picked up. Wolf pops this in the air. Ball kept alive and then falls to the floor. Another point for Northern Lights.
That's still outstanding effort by Allie Hinsey there. Look-away line shot is a really big staple at this level of volleyball, and Allie was able to react and get a touch on it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't near a teammate.
Lauren Link, the 6-footer out of Academy of Holy Angels, has been serving this whole time. She does it again. Set to the outside. The spike dug out by Wolf. Given to the outside again, and this one forced back the other way. The attempt for Northern Lights is sent back.
Yeah, Grace Dack is such a force in the middle, and like, you want to talk about a physical volleyball team. Hutchinson had one of the most physical volleyball teams, around this year, and she used her size to great success.
Stolpus on the serve this time. It is pushed back. Both teams just kind of playing with it at the net. Finally, it's sent down with some strength, and we get a 3-1 lead for Northern Lights.
This is a funny sequence. Allie Hinsey hit the ball, got blocked, and it came back and hit her on the crown of the head, popped it up a little bit, and then we had that rally, within a foot of the net space on both sides.
Lakeville North's Hallie on the serve. This ball given to the right side, and a spike and kill from Elizabeth Helmick, the Wyzetta product, with 301 kills for the Trojans.
We're going to see a ton of that today. Helmick is certainly a feature hitter, and her setter, Johnson, they played high school volleyball together for the last 3 years, and so they're certainly on the same page. Johnson likes to set her against the grain. When the flow of the play is going to our right, looking at them, she'll reverse the ball to Helmick to a great degree of success in system.
Here's Northern Lights serving with Emmy Jensen out of Apple Valley. Back set to the right side, and more strength from the right side on Minnesota Selects than from Helmick.
Yeah, it's borderline unfair when Helmick is hitting, because it's such a weird thing to have to commit two blockers to the right side for another team. Nobody has to do that unless you have a Catherine Harms over there playing outside. But I think it's a really good comparison for Helmick to another era. Catherine Harms, former Golden Gopher at St. Michael Knight. And they're really similar. Catherine was maybe a touch more physical, but the arm on Helmick is equally as deadly.
Northern Lights serving. This is Lauren Lenk. Mentioned her before. Lenk will play her college ball at Loyola. Off the receive, back set to the right side. This spike, good for a kill. Minnesota selects Allie Hins.
Yeah, and again, Johnson really favors reversing the ball when it's going to the one side of the court. Allie Hinsey does a good job of finding a seam, hitting off the right side, which he's not asked to do a ton. Her primary position is the outside, but in that serve-receive formation there, she's on the right, does a great job of getting a kill.
Hinsey unable to follow that up with a serve that was strong, and it goes into the net.
Lots of northern suburb programs represented here. Allie Hinsey out of Osseo. Jordan Stalpus is the other outside in the front row from Champlain Park. 3 Wayzata players on this team. Just Select is drawing a ton of talent from that northwest area right now, and that's a testament to both the strength of their program, Minnesota Select, and the strength of the high school programs in that area.
Stalpus with the kill that time. She's one of those Champlain Park players. This is Lily Emlong from Wayzata serving. The receive by Temperley goes out of bounds, and it's a tie match at game at 6-6.
Yeah, it's one of those awkward serve receives where the player doesn't get her platform locked soon enough and ends up almost jabbing at the ball, which caused that kind of violent turn the ball took.
Received by Temperley, played to the front, the spike from the right side, blocked back. Libero calls for the bump set, and this one touched over the block, kept alive, attack from Select. Northern Lights digs it out. They'll set the outside. This spike finds the floor in a kill for Haley Olson.
Fortunately for Select, the right side moved a little bit too close to the pin on the block attempt here, which makes it hard for the middle to close, and it'll almost always leave you vulnerable to a seam shot.
Olson, a player that folks around here might not have seen much of because she plays for River Falls, who won nearly 40 matches this year in the Wisconsin tournaments as they made it to the state semifinals.
What happened there? Did the ball enter the fourth dimension briefly? And I don't understand. The ball ended up on Select side, but this was such a weird angle. Wow, it's crazy.
Seemed like it hit right on the top of the head, but didn't bounce off at all. Just kind of died there. Northern Lights can't get it back over, and Minnesota Select will pick up the point to pull within 1.
That's one of the coach's least favorite things, is when you receive a free ball and you figure out a way to not even return the ball, let alone not return the ball aggressively.
Olivia Johnson, 5'10" setter out of Wayzata with over 1,000 assists this past fall. Ball given to the front, spike from the right side, nicely done. Good adjustment in the air that time from Sophia Vogel.
Pin blocker, Stalpus went a little bit too far to the pin again, and you want to give that line digger a clean look at the ball. Unfortunately, Stalpus a little bit near the pin and ended up causing more harm than good.
Megan Riley on the serve. She's the one junior we have on the court for this matchup of 18-1s.
Jordan Stalpus is a good player. She is playing 6 rotations, both for Champlain Park, knockout high school team this year, and then for Select 18-1s. She's one of those classic players where you look at her, she's not super physical, but you watch her play and you're like, yeah, you could help just about any team.
Hinsey with the kill that time from the outside. Point to Minnesota Select. They'll come on the serve again. The numbers for these two teams are kind of ridiculous when you look at the stats from their high school seasons, and almost every player that we'll see today is committed in this match into a college, which makes sense, them all being seniors at this point. This ball will not be returned, and Northern Lights get to the point. They lead 10-9.
Timing issue for Allie Hinsey out there. Didn't transition to the best of her ability and got stuck on a set where her timing was thrown off. Tipped, unfortunately, into the net, and point Northern Lights.
Set to the outside. The spike popped into the air off the blockers. Back set right side. This attack by Jensen. Then just sent back. Cross-court attempt goes wide and out of bounds. 11-9, Northern Lights in front.
Select having a little bit of a rough time when they're not in system right now. They haven't generated a ton of offense on just standard counterattack ball. Hopefully they can right the ship here, have a little better first contact.
Stalpus receives, set up on the right side, spike over the block, down on it is Wolf, given to the right side for Northern Lights, and their spike, a soft one, is pushed back. Wolf, then it's bumped up to the outside. This spike clears everyone out of bounds, and Select pulls back within 1.
Casual observer, you would think that was a wild attempt or an error. It's actually an intentional shot, and she missed scoring on Helmick's fingers there by a matter of inches.
Ball to the outside. This time, the spike into the blockers as Link is rejected, and we are tied at 11.
And that's why she tried that shot earlier. If you challenge Helmick down near the net, this happens to you. And it's just an impossible situation to try to challenge the strength of her block.
Spike from the right side, blocked back. Good job by Wolf to get on that. Now she'll give it over free. Stalpus on the other side, moves it to the front. Here a spike, and that's good for a kid. No, it went long. So a point to Minnesota Select.
Wow, so Select is pretty adamant that the ball was touched by the middle back for Lights. Lights is claiming that the ball went whizzing past the middle back defender. Mike Domeyer agrees with Minnesota Select, and that's the guy who counts. He's the up ref for the match, and so point to Lights.
So Lights gets the point. Select gets one back, bouncing that off of Wolf. 12-12, our score.
It's almost a game planning issue with Helmick. Out of that serve receive, you have to know that she's the number one option by a ton, and you almost want to commit two blockers to the right side, which is a completely weird situation for most high school age volleyball teams to be in.
Set to the outside. That one's wild, and Select will get the lead. 13-12. Now, you mentioned, was it Helmick that had missed some time during the high school season?
No, that was Kennedy Orr. We were comparing the two players earlier. For my money, Elizabeth Helmick would have been equally as deserving as Kennedy Orr. When you're talking about Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Minnesota, I didn't have an issue with either choice, and but it was an interesting thought exercise when Gatorade approached me about some input as the two finalist candidates.
This serve too strong. We're kind of trading errors here as Select takes a 14-13 lead. I ask because when I look at the numbers from the fall, Helmick with just over 300 kills. I mean, we have some players out on this court right now that had nearly 400 during their season. Helmick has that super strong attack, and so you're telling me that even with some of the talent that's on the floor, she's still the clear number one for this 18-1 squad for Minnesota Select.
Yeah, and in that serve receive rotation specifically, but with the connection that Johnson, the setter, and Helmick have developed over the last 3 years, that is their number one option on offense for the team.
Service error, and it's 15-14. We had so few service errors in the first semifinal today. It feels like we've had a lot in this one by comparison.
Let's see if Emlong can change that. There's another skilled player that was a Wayzata Trojan this last year, Lily Emlong. Did a great job in the middle for them.
Ball given to the outside. This spike popped into the air. The attack from the middle kept alive. Nice reach by Lauren Link using all of that 6-foot frame. This spike towards the back line carries over. And that point to Minnesota Select on the attack error.
Awesome moment there for Minnesota Select 18-1s. Lily Emlong is the middle serving, and she made a tremendous dig on defense, something that she's not asked to do, quite honestly. But everybody acknowledged the fact as a great play on defense by Lily. Huge smiles on their faces, and a really cool way to support a teammate.
Let's take a look at Elizabeth Helmick. We talked a little bit about what she did during the high school season for Wayzata, and she was near unstoppable, it seemed like, in helping to carry her team to a state championship.
Yeah, the biggest problem with Helmick is that you can game plan her, for her to a certain extent. She can just beat your game plan, though she's so physical. The other problem that it creates is they have talented hitters all the way across the net. And you're talking about, we saw Sophie Jesuits earlier, 6'4" outside, and Lily Emlong, who's serving right now for Minnesota Select. Talent around her, and she commands so much gravity, which is one of those rare situations where she makes her teammates have much better opportunities because there's so much attention focused on her.
This ball popped into the air, carries over out of bounds, and with that, a point for Northern Lights to get them within one. Helmick will play her college ball at James Madison. Ball floated over. This is Wolf digging it out. Then the spike from the right side from Jensen. Up the middle, back row attack off the hand of Hinsey. This push deep out of bounds.
That's where the length of Minnesota Select blocking comes into play there. The out-of-system shot, and they know that that presence in the middle is really threatening. They attempt to tip high and just sails long on them because they're very aware of the block potential.
Here is Olivia Johnson, the other player from that state championship Wayzata team for Minnesota Select. First serve is sent back. No one will give it back to Northern Lights, and with that, they pulled back within one. Fairly tight the entire way through this first set.
Yeah, it's been a back and forth affair. No long runs. I think the first team to maybe make a run is going to position themselves well to take this first game.
Ball to the outside. This spike off the receive, and a kill for Minnesota Select.
Yeah, if you give Jordan Stalpus the line like that, she will gladly take it. And it's the geometry of the game is the outside's hitting down the line. It's obviously less reaction time as if they're hitting the ball cross court. And Stalpus does a really good job there of putting the ball on the right back defender quickly.
Spike from the right side. That's a kill. Nice attack by Vogel. Serve coming for Northern Lights from Wolf. She's headed to Drake next year. Keep saying next year, but it's 2020. I'm not used to watching volleyball in January and February. Ball on the strike. Northern Lights coming back, and they'll find the back corner. Little space there to pull back within, or to tie this one up at 18 all.
Yeah, most teams are playing perimeter defenses these days, which means that zone one area is basically undefended, and at this level, that look-away line shot is really, really prevalent.
Nice serve by Wolf. Select gets it up. Their spike back a little too strong from Hinsey, and Northern Lights takes a lead, 19-18.
It's a good shot by Hinsey. She missed the angle she was going for, and you talk about geometry again. If she gets that ball all the way to the corner, obviously she has more blue to work with, and she overcut it a little bit and sailed it long, just because of the angle of attack.
We've got the Northern Lights playing in this matchup. A Northern Lights team is waiting in the championship of this Minnesota Molten series after taking down the M1 team. So M1 will be up in our third place game immediately after this matchup. And these two teams will be playing in each of those games just where they are, and everyone trying to advance to that championship.
Yeah, it's Light 17-1's waiting for the winner of this one, and at this level, we mentioned earlier, it's not a grade that matters so much. It's just both teams are talented, and whoever plays better is probably going to be the deserving winner today.
Helmick on the strike, saying she got a piece of the fingers. The officials disagree, and the point to Northern Lights gives them a 20-18 lead. So again, it had been close all the way through, but Northern Lights putting a little space in between themselves and Select.
Great serve.
The lead serve does get over. Now a spike to force it down by Lauren Link. 21-18.
Wow, I thought that ball hit the antenna on the overpass there. I'm not sure if we can get a second look at that, but that was a weird sequence. Let's see if this ball floats high and then up into the antenna right here. No, it was the hand of the player that did the antenna, which actually still is a violation.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe a lucky break there for Lights.
Two teams meeting in the huddles to chat it over. Talked about how many of these players are going to play collegiate volleyball. Cahill will play at Southwest Minnesota State. That's D2. Jensen for Northern Lights will play at St. Thomas. We have no idea what division that'll be at that point.
Yes, St. Thomas is making the rare transition from Division III, and I think it has been confirmed they are going to play Division I volleyball.
Okay.
And they're going to play in the Summit League, which is just a really good starting point for them to take on that challenge.
How much does that change things for the University of Minnesota, for Concordia St. Paul? I mean, those two programs have been very good at their respective levels, and now you add another D1 to the mix right here in town. It's going to be interesting, I think.
This is my opinion, is that every kid on this court, if they could play at the U of M, that would be their first choice,
yes.
If that makes sense. And so that's not going to change the U of M very much. Concordia, that might be a situation where St. Thomas going Division I might be a little bit more threatening to the recruiting pool because, the allure of playing Division I for some kids is really, really strong, even compared against the consistent strength of Concordia.
There, hard spike from the middle, picked up by Wolf. Link's shot from the outside, played in the air by Stalpus. Touch, and we had a violation to make it 23-18.
Block must have touched that ball when Johnson tried to play it. She's a back row player right now, which means that anytime she touches the ball above the plane of the net and it crosses into the plane of the net and the other team touches the ball, that completes the attack. and makes it a violation. Now, what Kayla Cole is arguing is that the block never touched the ball after Johnson made contact with it. Thus, it didn't complete the attack. Thus, it was not a violation because the select middle actually did deflect the ball back into the ground.
Hins is the messenger. It's kind of like she's doing the shuttle run.
So here we go.
If
Lights touched that ball at the point of contact when Johnson did, that was a violation. And Cole is making the argument right now that there was not any contact during that exchange.
Stolpus plays this into the air towards the outside. And that one, a kill for Minnesota Select. Much needed. They'd fallen on hard times when it comes to scoring.
Yeah, Ellie Hinsey can do that. If you give her a ball on the pin and you give her a little sliver of line, she's quite the hitter on the outside.
That select point stops a 7-0 run for Northern Lights. Select gets that one up in the air, then it's played by Schultz. Moved over to Northern Lights. Wolf bumps it up to the right side. The spike from Jensen finds the floor. And with that, it's 24-19. Set point here for Northern Lights.
Yeah, I think we discussed it earlier as the first team to make a run in this game was almost certainly gonna be the victor. And that 7-point run at the late stage of the game like this it's really, really hard to combat.
Here, hard spike. Minnesota Select not quitting on it as Allie Hinsey forces that one down.
It's a favorite play there. Is Emlong comes in an in-system ball down the middle, and you have to account for Emlong because she's a good hitter. And when you skip the middle and give the ball to Hinsey like that on a lower trajectory, she's going to have an open piece of property there, and she certainly bounced that one.
20 serving 24. Wolf to the front of the net. This one's set to the outside, and this spike had net contact with it. So with that, it's a 25-20 win for Northern Lights. They take a 1-0 lead in this best 2 of 3 match. We'll pause and come back for the start of the second here on CCX. One down, and it went to Northern Lights. We head to the second between Lights and Select. Select now on the near side, Lights on the far side. And John Ed Carl Katzenberger back with you.
So go for an adjustment again in game 2. The first match we called, there was a definite in-game adjustment between 1 and 2, and that resulted in a quick turnaround. Let's see if Kayla Cole and company over at Minnesota Select has made any adjustments as we start game 2.
The setter, Charlotte Nelson, couldn't get under that one. And with that, a point to Minnesota Select to start.
There's Emlong again, and she's definitely going to fill up the stat sheet this game. First swing resulting in a clean kill.
Haley Olsen on the serve. Wolf receives. This ball played deep. Olsen gets it up in the air. Now it's set to the outside. The spike dug out by Wolf. Nelson sets it to the outside, and this spike blocked back. Nicely done. I know Grace Dake was in on that one, and along with another player.
Really well set block, and that time Helmick did not go too far. She set the block inside and allowed Dake to close, and really well executed.
Ball given in the middle, pushed around the blocks. Johnson got it up in the air. Now a spike, and that one good for a kill. Nicely done down the line by Helmick.
Yeah, she's going to get a ton of opportunity this game. It remains to be seen if Select can be in system enough to get her the ball. But it's probably the #1 for Minnesota Select priority to get Helmick the ball and get her some swings.
River Falls Olsen on the serve again. Her team up 3-0 to start. They'll give up a point there as Northern Lights gets on the board. Remember, Northern Lights won the first matchup 25-20. And now in this second set, they fell into a 3-0 hole before getting that point. This is junior Megan Riley. Out of the back row, it's played up towards the front. Good spike from the outside. Back set, right side attack. That one comes ricocheting back. And unable to handle it is Northern Lights. Select up 4-1.
Maybe that is an adjustment they made. And that time, Hinsey did not go too far. She set the block cross court, which allowed Dake to close, and they were able to cut off that attack at the point of origin. Ball
hit towards the sideline. Player was already out of bounds there, waiting on it. She just didn't have to move. It looked like she was on the bench almost. Here, ball sent back, and Select able to get themselves a point. They lead 5-1.
Everyone's having a laugh about that. If you play volleyball, like, there is going to be a situation where you can't help but just look, like 5% uncoordinated. And the setter was in position to make the dig, and then that bang play where it hits the block and just awkwardly hits you in the chest. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
4-point lead for Minnesota Select as we look through the Star Tribune's all-Metro first team. We've seen some of these players throughout the course of the day already. Helmick's on the floor right now. She was first team.
Yeah, just lots of talent today, and it's fun to, again, as a coach, it's fun to just be a spectator, quite honestly, and enjoy watching these guys play without a stake in it, and makes you appreciate just how much talent there is in Minnesota right now.
We had 3 players from the second team on the list, Johnson and Wolf among them. So the talent continues to impress, and we'll get to see both of these teams one way or another in our later games as well. One will play in the third place game, one will play in the championship.
Couple of kids on that all Metro list were our coach's daughters, and my buddy Bill Kwan up at Osseo, who's the AD now, used to coach, and his daughter made third team. And then Sienna Selbichka from North Branch, her dad is the coach up there. He does a fantastic job, and just obviously both those kids had developed a love for volleyball early.
Select loving the second set early. They lead 7-1, and now a timeout taken and by Northern Lights. Select will have the serve out of the break because the last timeout didn't slow Minnesota Select down at all. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. At CCX Sports is the handle to stay on top of what we'll be covering. And at CCX Media for Instagram.
Kayla Cole's really calm and steady. That's kind of her MO as a coach. You'll never see her get too upset about a call or a play. She understands that, hey, it's high school kids, and you're going to make mistakes. And it's a kind of a coach's saying, but if you move to Texas and complain it was hot, like, what did you think was going to happen? If you coach high school volleyball players and they make some mistakes, like, what did you think was going to happen? And you're just an adult in their life trying to help them either avoid the same mistake in the future or identify ones that they can navigate around without having to make the mistake.
Select got another point out of the break. These timeouts have not slowed them down to this point. Northern Lights gets this one up. Attack from the right side, too strong from Mackenzie Close. And it is a 9-1 Select lead. Now, Coach Damian Fox has taken the timeouts. What other weapons can a coach use at this point when you are watching your team slide into a hole like this?
Yeah, at this point, it's more about the kids regaining some semblance of confidence rather than any tactical advantage here. The really big issue for Lights has been their inability to get in system. They've been chundering some service balls, and just make it tough on yourself when the setter is constantly on the move.
Molly Schultz still serving. Player out of Rockford. 11-1.
What a good serve. The libero is shading towards the bench side of the court, and that left a huge gap between the outside hitter and the libero, and she hit it clean. This is one of the only ways that the coach can stop momentum now, too, is entering a substitution. Maybe give the server an extra tick to have to stop and think about what they're doing.
Jensen will have it come right to her after checking in. Now she comes on the attack. Good strike, able to dig it out as Schultz. Back set to the right side. The spike blocked back, and there's a much-needed point for Northern Lights.
That's a pretty common strategy when the sub comes in cold off the bench like that is if you're Minnesota Select, you want to serve that kid who just came in off the bench. And she did a really good job both on the serve-receive play and the swing.
So the 8-0 run is done. Receiving is Olsen. This ball set to the outside. Cross-court attempt misses wide for Hinsey.
It's that same play with Emlong coming in, and they skipped the middle and said Hinsey. Hinsey got it off the outside part of her hand and didn't have clean contact.
Olsen continues to receive the serves here. Hinsey from the outside. Her spike blocked back. She'll get another chance. This time she puts it through, and it's a 12-3 lead.
Yeah, the Northern Lights block took line on the first attempt, and then I don't know if it was a conscious thing or not, but they gave line on the second attempt, and Hinsey saw it and was able to put the ball away.
Nice set to the outside. Olsen able to dig that out after the blockers got a hold of it. This one back set to the right side. And the attack good for a kill. Kate Neal coming through on the Nicole O'Dean feed.
Well, that was a really smart play by the right side there. It was a quicker ball to the setter, and instead of trying to transition all the way outside and get set, she decided just to go off of one leg like a slide, that a middle hitter would take. A really great route.
Ball carried a little long, but still on the Select side. They punch it over. Nelson sets it up for the right side. This one out of bounds off the hands of Close.
Yeah, Close probably wishes she had that one back, as she had a pretty clear line shot and just overcut it.
Nicole O'Dean from Buffalo serving. This one hits the antenna to make it a 14-4. Northern Lights will take the points any way they can get them.
Yeah. Buffalo entering the late conference this year, so that was a new thing. St. Michael and Buffalo here, and I was pretty impressed by Buffalo's volleyball program. They certainly have a little ways to go when you're talking about competing with the bigger schools or the biggest schools in the state of Minnesota. But they got a good future there and good building block, and expect them to be really competitive in short order.
They won't have O'Dean. She'll be at Davenport University next year. Here's serve from Allie Hinsey. Attack from the right side. Nixon couldn't push that through the block.
Yeah, Select's done a great job of blocking. They've always had united blockers up there. There haven't been any of those waterfall plays we discussed earlier. They're blocking well. They're serve receiving well, and Light's having a hard time dealing with it.
Here's Emmy Jensen. Her serve played up by Schultz. Back set right side, O'Dean, and it's spiked by Neal. Neal comes through with the kill.
And maybe that's a standard route for O'Dean. She's having a lot of success just going off of 1 foot like that. And maybe she's a primary middle, maybe kind of transitioning to that position. She looks really natural going off of 1 foot.
Well, she had almost 100 kills this season, which seems like a lot for a setter. This ball carries long, 17-6. I don't know if you remember what system Buffalo was using and how much she saw action on the attack. I
don't, because we were in a rare situation. Normally we can game plan for an opponent. Even year to year we can game plan. And Buffalo was brand new. So we had literally, the absolute minimum, holy cow, the absolute minimum of information, and we just tried to adjust on the fly.
That last kill was by Dake. So an 18-6 lead by Select.
Dake might have popped a tile out of the floor with that one. That was quite the swing.
Here's Olivia Johnson serving. Down on it is Wolf for the serve receive. Popping it up, Johnson. Schultz gives the bump set. Now an attack from the back row, and that one's too strong off the hands of Hinsey.
So that happens sometimes when you're hitting out of the pipe or out of the back row, is you don't transition properly like you would in the front row to take a full approach. Hinsey kind of had a little bit of a stutter step in that approach and made a hitting error long.
Charlotte Nelson sends it at Olsen. Now it's given back to the Northern Lights side. Nelson set for the outside. Spike Schultz digs it out. Schultz back on the play. And the swing through there looked like it caught the net. And the official calls the penalty.
Yeah, that's tough. Sometimes you would like your blocker to be athletic and just go up and try to make a play with one hand. Sometimes you would just like them to take two hands and sweep the ball. It's kind of a coaching preference, I guess. But holy cow, it was a good cut shot.
That one was going to fall in bounds if it hadn't been played up by Minnesota Select. In the end, Select unable to defend the last shot. And it becomes a 19-8. Still a large lead for Select. Here's Megan Riley serving. Played up by Hinsey. Ends up all the way over with Helmick. This shot rejected back. Standing alone in the middle was Dake.
Yeah, she's so physical in the middle, and it's she gets those hands across the net, and so sometimes we call that as like hitting in a phone booth. You just know where to go.
Schultz with the serve. Played up by Jensen. This one given to the right side. Cross-court kill, good for Sophia Vogel.
I don't think Johnson saw that one until late. She kind of reacted a little bit passively, and it was a great shot from the right side.
Wolf sending it over. And this ball bounces out. 20-10 now our score. Outside attack, the blocker's there, but it goes out of bounds off their arms. Hinsey with another kill.
It's a value of being in system. If you can get that ball to the setter and Emlong can be that threat coming out of the middle, makes it really hard to close the block, especially when you're going at a quicker tempo like they did to Hinsey there.
Odin's serve on the short end. Jensen able to get under it. Now this spike off the blocker. Schultz nearly kept it alive. There's penalty, or the whistle blows, and it's 21-11 in favor of Minnesota Select.
It's actually a reasonably well-formed block there. It didn't go too far to the pin, and Emlong was able to close. Call that a pop-up block is when we don't terminate on the block, but we do slow the momentum significantly and give your back row player a chance to dig.
Serve is long. Free point for Minnesota Select. They don't need too many of those to take the win here in this second set. It's 22-11, so they're doubling up on the opposition.
I think we've seen two instances of really good coaching in these last two matches. I'll expand on it when this play is done a little bit.
Ball to the front, pushed over, and that one past Minnesota to Select finds the floor.
A lopsided game one in both of the first two matches, and the team that took the L actually has come out with a really strong and steady game plan in game two, and I feel like it's a really good job of coaching and a really good job of the players by being coachable.
In our first match, the 17-1s for Northern Lights were able to come back from a rough second game and then take the match.
Yeah, and that's making an adjustment, and then the other team makes an adjustment, and then you have to make a counter to that second. It's like the fourth level chess, kind of. But I think every coach here that we've seen so far is really, really capable, really, really strong coach, and getting their players to buy in is a big deal.
Serve into the net. Minnesota Select will take a 10-point advantage off of that. Need two more to take this second game. Here's Lily Emlong. She'll play at Elon next year.
Yeah, Lily's a really good volleyball player. She's steady. Maybe she doesn't pop as much as some of her teammates on the Wayzata Trojans volleyball team, but any kid in that program would tell you Lily is a necessary piece to that championship team they have.
24-11 as that serve goes a little bit long. Serve here by Aliciana Mixon. Won't come back. Minnesota Select with some struggle on that ball.
They did a good job of isolating Dake there, and we had two blockers up with hands in the hitting window, and that's probably Light's first score off of a block this particular set.
Mixon again. She'll play at Central Methodist next year, and this serve too long. That wraps it up. 25-12, so a couple of lopsided games to start, and we've only got one more to go. They'll play to 15 to decide the winner and which team will be in the championship when we come back on CCX. One apiece to start this semifinal match between Northern Lights and Minnesota Select. They'll play to 15 to decide the winner and who will enter the championship game.
So we were talking about the Wayzata player contingent on Minnesota Select here, and I'll share a story from you that dates back to even 3 seasons ago. And Scott Jackson, being the established coach he is, and just all-around great guy, he made the conscious decision to play this group of kids together as sophomores at the varsity level, and they took their lumps, boy. I think they won 3 or 4 matches in total that year, and then they showed huge improvement from sophomores to juniors, and then obviously they reached the top of the heap as seniors. So Scott had a really, really strong vision for this set of kids, and they sure delivered on their potential.
I think that has to take a lot for a coach, as the opening point there went to Northern Lights, and they'll get the second point as well. I know one of the toughest things for coaches to deal with at the high school level is parents, and when you've got juniors and seniors on that same team, you're going to hear it from the parents that their kids aren't playing. Obviously, it built up in the best interest of the program, but that's a tough move to make, I think.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys or gals, for that matter, that are coaching that would make that conscious decision and then just be able to sleep at night knowing that that's the best decision for the group, as opposed to it's a decision that is going to hurt some kids in the near term because they have earned a right to play. So tricky juggling act. I would say that was completely vindicated by the end result for Wayzata this year, and I'm just glad that it worked out so well for everyone in that program.
A 3-0 start for Northern Lights, and then Minnesota Select gets the last point. Here's served by Olsen, given right back over. Schultz pops it up in the air, touched over by Stalpus. Northern Lights giving it free. Schultz over to Johnson, and this set to the right side results in a kill for Helmick.
That's the value of being in system, is if you can make them respect Dake and you can make them respect the outside hitter. Johnson is going to get the ball to the right side, and it's murder one-on-one. You just can't possibly hope to contain Helmick over there.
Olsen serve, a tough receive, but then the finish through the block by Lauren Link. And it's 4-2 in favor of Northern Lights.
That was a pretty fortunate result for Lights there. Helmick went up probably just a hair late, and the ball actually went between her arms and then settled on the floor.
Wolf serving. Played up. Nice job from the right side by Helmick. Comes through with another point. Her team within one.
That's a tough assignment. If you're the left side blocker for Lights, you do want to try to stop short and let that middle close, because Helmick saw a gap and she's just able to exploit that really, really easily.
An ace for Molly Schultz, who will play at Kansas next year. 4-4 our score.
Now, the pick your poison with that is if you do stop short, you give her a good look at the line shot, and you really just have to decide what you want to take away as the primary option.
Serve right at Wolf. She gets it up. Flying in is Nelson for the set. Now coming back the other way. And a spike and kill for Stalpus to finish off the point.
So a couple more, illustrations of how important first touch and how important blocking is there. Select in system. They get the ball outside, and Stalpus, as a late close, exploits that gap in the block, and really effective end of that play.
Set to the right side. This ball popped up. Right side attack again for Jensen.
So there's a contrast there. Emlong did a fantastic job in the first block attempt. Got her hands across, popped it up. The second block attempt, her hands did not get across the net, which again causes that waterfall effect. Ball being trapped between the blocker and the net.
Jensen's serve played up by Olsen, and this one flying in was Johnson. She couldn't get there in time.
It's a really good effort by Johnson. It's a low proposition there, but if you as the setter, you're going to show the rest of your teammates that you will give max effort there. Makes it really easy for the rest of your teammates to want to give max effort.
Johnson setting it up to the outside, touched over the blocks. Nicely done that time by Stalpus.
Stalpus is not maybe the biggest flamethrower in the state, but what she does well is score, and I'll be honest with you, I would rather have that as an outside than the biggest arm. I just want to put points on the board. I don't care how.
Here, the let serve. Nixon trying to catch it on the right side. She goes into the support, looks to be okay, and the point goes to the other side. Select up 7-6.
So again, I think the first team that makes a run, 3 or more points, is going to put themselves in a great position at the end of this third game.
Ball set to the outside, spike towards the back corner, and a diving attempt by Minnesota Select. Not enough to get there. We're tied at 7.
So that's a positioning error by the setter. All setters inherently want to release early out of that right back, and the setter read tip and took off early. The outside for Northern Lights did a really good job of disguising that tip to the deep part of the court.
Serve for Link. Stalpus gets it up in the air. Back set to the right side. Good hit, but Neal's play is popped into the air. Now this spike rejected back, and Neal part of the block. 8-7 the lead.
Yeah, she got a great seal on that, meaning her hands were across the net, and that's what causes that straight down block effect, is if you can get penetration into the other side of the playing area, that's how you get that ball to get blocked straight down to the court.
Select's first lead was 7-6. They've got their second lead of this matchup at 8-7. They're now on the far side of the court after the switch. Getting down on that one was Timperley, but it's a little late.
Wow, that's a tough break for Select. They got the passing error they were looking for, and the outside for Select tried to play the ball with one hand and you know, got the ball pinched between the net and her.
Serve out of bounds, so Select gets the point back. They're in front again, 9-8.
Select's best rotation is one away when Helmick comes back on the court and Dake is in the front row. They're positioned pretty well right now for this last part of the game.
Emling on the serve, barely able to get to that ball was Wolf, who is the libero. I'm surprised to see that play. And here, bounces off of Wolf, who was out of sorts. 10-8 lead for Select.
Yeah, that was a little discombobulated. Wolf was a little out of position there, a little shallow, and the outside for Select did a great job of seeking zone 5, deep zone 5 there, and you know, was able to terminate.
Wayzata Zoli Emling ready again. 10 serving 8. Wolf gets it to the front. Nelson puts it in the air. This spike blocked back, goes off of a face maybe. It hit Link. We continue on. This one touched down to the floor. And play by Sophia Vogel with that kind of push.
I think Dake got it, but I think it ricocheted. I don't know if it ricocheted off her arm and then her head, or her arm and the other arm. Yeah, it was a strange outcome from that block.
Nelson on the serve. Here a spike finds the floor, and Minnesota Select up to an 11-9 lead.
I'll say this, is Select's outsides have done a really good job of being terminal and scoring. And as an outside, you're not asked to do that a ton, you know, because you're getting a lot of sets that are out of system and things like that. But really impressive, the production they've had from the outside.
Set to the middle. Nice job to get on that one by Molly Schultz. Nelson sets the middle. Good spike. Looked like it was kept alive, but no. Sophia Vogel's kill pulls her team back within 1.
It's a great run there. Lights had a counterattack 31, and you know, it's tough to be united on the block against that route, and you know, great job of terminating.
Megan Riley's serve. Pushed into the air by Olsen. She'll get it back on the outside. The spike dug out by Wolf. Nelson sets it up to the right side. Around the block goes Lauren Link, still kept alive. Schultz sets it up for the right side. The spike blocked back, and we're tied at 11.
Lights went after Johnson on that tip, which causes their best setter, Johnson, to not be able to set the ball, and they're forced to use the libero and send the ball to Helmick that way. Helmick loves timing plays. Like if she is in rhythm and that ball is delivered by the setter like she's accustomed to, she's almost unfair. We talked about that earlier. That's not a timing play there. The libero is just trying to give her something high to hit, and if she struggles with anything hitting wise at all, I would say that would be the one area that she's a little bit more like a mere mortal like the rest of us, is you know, doing something aggressive with a ball that's not in system or in rhythm.
Two teams return to the court. All tied at 11. You need just 15 to take this one. Megan Riley ready on the serve. Olivia Johnson bumps this one to Helmick. Her spike played up by Riley. Ends up on the outside trying to get there and running out of space. On the outside was Lauren Link.
Super fortunate for Select there. Helmick was stuck in the left front on serve receive rotation, so she had to hit a ball to the 5 spot, or you know, the outside's normal, and that's tricky for a left-hander to do. They're not used to that ball coming all the way across their face, and it's just a tough thing for a left-hander to hit a ball on the outside. Now they rotated once with the side out, and Helmick's be able to hit on the natural side, the right side for a lefty for the remainder of her duration in the front row.
12-11 the lead for Minnesota Select as we come out of the break. Select will be serving. Haley Olsen ready again. Olsen with a tough serve to get back, and unable to play it is Haley Wolf.
Really good serve by Olsen. She's been really impressive this game. She's done a lot of good things, had a lot of positive touches.
She's ready again. This ball received by Link cleanly. Set to the right side. Spike through the block and a kill for Sophia Vogel.
And that's that same positioning error there. Stolpus went a little too far towards the pin, and the middle's not able to recover and close that block, giving seam. If Johnson gets her hands on this ball at all, it's going to Helmick 1,000 times out of 1,000 here.
Johnson receives, bumped up to the outside. Stolpus got a good swing on it, but it's played up in the air. Link touches that one. Helmick pushes it back. Confusion on the side of Northern Lights, and that's the wrong time for it. It's a 14-12 lead for Select.
That's a shame that a communication error like that at such a critical time. And these are all talented kids and high-level volleyball players, and it just shows you the value of the simple, the skill of calling the ball. 14-12.
I feel like that's a message that coaches have to give over and over again.
Yeah, and it ebbs and flows is the thing. And you'd like to think as high school juniors and high school seniors that they've heard it enough. But, I mean, it just is one of those things that it ebbs and flows in a game like any other skill. Nobody's going to hit perfectly or serve perfectly. And you do have to give a reminder about it. And, it's not a talent issue. Every kid, from the shortest to the tallest, the weakest to the strongest, they can do a great job of communication. So it's more of a choice, really, than a skill. And, again, younger players, if you want to get on the court a little bit more, communication's a great way to show your coach that you want to be out there.
Ball's going to come into the court. So we have match point here for Minnesota Select. Serving for them is Schultz. This ball played into the air. Nelson backs that right side. The spike over to Olsen. She gets it up. Now to the middle. Spike and kill. And the finish there from Lily Emlong makes it a 15-12. The final in favor of Minnesota Select in the third game. They win the match and will play in the championship round.
Great finish by Emlong, and Johnson gave her a great route. And I think that's a little bit of familiarity that those guys have developed with one another. And really looking forward to the third place and the first place match here. Should be two fun contests left on the schedule.
Those are right around the corner for us, and we'll get you those as well. For our entire CCX Media crew, including my broadcast partner Carl Katzenberger, I'm John Haddon saying so long for now as Minnesota Select advances to the championship.